Hi all. Today's theme is staying strong, mobile and independent after 70. And my guest today is Allan Misner, host of the 40 Plus Fitness podcast and a coach dedicated to helping people over 40 improve their health, fitness and longevity. Welcome, Allan. Could
I'm
you
glad
please
to
tell
be
us a
here.
little bit about yourself and what led you to focus on helping people improve their health and fitness as they got older?
Okay, I'll start with this: is plus
Yeah.
70 is plus 40.
Yes.
So if you're over 70, you're definitely over 40. But it's not too late,
Definitely.
and so don't feel like it is. And in fact, I'm 60, and Richard, you're 69. So
Yeah.
we're on that cusp as well, and
On that
dealing with the same
trajectory.
issues. So what it was I was in my midlife, my 20s and 30s. I was really busting it for my career because
Yeah.
that's what, we're supposed to do, particularly in the United States,
Yes.
get that gold ring, get up there and do that thing and climb that ladder and get to where you're supposed to be. And at 39, I was in the C-suite of a company. I was vice president, on the board, and the director in the company. I had effectively made it, except that my health, my fitness, my relationships, everything else about my life sucked.
Okay. I get the
Okay.
drift.
It was like I poured everything into one cup and I didn't have anything in the other cups. And that became a huge
Yes.
problem for me. One that I really struggled to find resources to solve, because back then you were either doing the workouts that everybody did when they were in their
Yes.
20s, or you were done and you were doing chair yoga and stretching. And I knew chair yoga and stretching. I mean, there's a place for those, but those were
Yep.
not going to change my life. And every time I tried to do the workouts that young people were doing, it broke me. And so I was like, I don't
Yeah.
understand why I can't solve this problem. And because I worked so much and I traveled so much and I was gone so much, I couldn't really hire a coach because,
Yep.
you go to a personal trainer, is like, okay, so how are we going to work together? It's like, well, I'm here one weekend a month. Okay, I can't help you.
Look, not
Here's a
not possible.
program. He's going to pull out the same 20-year-old program, hand it to me, and and
Yeah.
and go do that.
Yeah.
And then I would break myself again. So what I did was I decided I needed to be a personal trainer for me.
Yeah.
I had no intention of leaving corporate, no intention of becoming a coach, but I learned what I needed to do for myself. And then I made some changes. And over the course of 11 months, I lost 66 pounds of fat and I put on 11 pounds of
Incredible.
muscle. And this was in my mid 40s, when you're not supposed to be
Yes.
able to do those things. You're
Yes.
supposed to, in your mid 40s, start your decline. This is when you
Yep.
start shuttling, losing muscle, getting weaker, and you're absolutely putting on fat. And I actually reversed that trend and managed to lose that weight and change my life. After I finished that, I was looking around and I'm like, there's still nobody talking about this. Why, being over
Yes.
40, being over 70, we do have to do things different. A lot of things are the same, but a lot of things are different. And
Yes.
so, how do we do this with the constraints of being older? Was the core thesis of my life. And at that point, I'm like, I think I have some answers. And so
Okay.
I decided that I would start the 40 Plus Fitness podcast. And I took on a couple online clients initially. No one was doing online either. And I'm like, someone needs to be doing online because I couldn't
Yes.
have a coach with me. But if I had a coach directing me and holding me accountable, I would have the accountability, the guidance and support I needed. I didn't have to have someone there counting reps and loading plates if I knew that someone was helping me that
Yes.
understood what someone over 40 needs. So I started coaching a few people online. I got them some great results. So I knew what I was doing would work and I knew it was working for people. And so I kind of expanded it. It was my sideline thing. I still had my corporate gig.
Yep.
And then at the end of 2017, for about 3 or 4 years, the industry I was in had started to decline, had been declining. And as a result, there were layoffs after layoffs. And so I was in the final round of that, where they literally just outsourced the rest of my department and said, we don't need you anymore.
Hmm.
And
Wow.
I don't know that many companies lay off corporate executives, but this company did, which was fine. I
Yes.
needed to leave because it's allowed me to do a lot of things, a lot of good things. And one is, I told my wife, I said, I really don't want to go back to corporate. I know it's
Yep.
less money. I know it'll change our lifestyle, but I'm kind of digging helping people and doing this thing.
Yes.
So I wrote my book, The Wellness Roadmap. that year. Released it at the end of 2018. And really, since the beginning of 2018, I have been full-time online fitness and health coach, and I wrote the book, and I've been doing the podcast now for almost 11 years. So episode 758 goes live on Tuesday.
Fantastic. Gee, that's one hell of a good background story, because that explains exactly where you've come from and the experience you picked up on the way. I'm really interested, Alan, in terms of the demographic, but are you working with sort of in that mid-range 40, 50, or you're getting the 70, 80s, even some older people? Because I'm really
I
concerned
definitely have
about it.
I have some older clients. I've
You
had some
do.
much older
Okay.
clients. That was one of the interesting thing, because when there's no one doing anything for anyone
Yes.
over 40 and you're the first person to step up,
Yes.
someone in their 60s raises their hand and says, "Can you
Yeah.
help me put on some muscle?" I'm like,
Yeah.
"Absolutely, Dave." Someone in their late 70s, early 80s is like, "Can you help me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let's do this." And so I've had
Yes.
the distinct pleasure of working with people in 5 different generations, I mean, 5 different decades of life,
Yes.
40s,
Yes.
50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. And it's been a joy, and I can see subtle differences as people age. There's going to be limitations, there's going to be constraints, but every one of those constraints just means you're starting from a certain point. But that's one of the, and really,
Yeah.
the human body is a gift. And I can't even explain this in any other way to say, but it is the best gift that you've ever been given in your life. And we
Yeah.
should take care of it.
I
But
concur with that
okay, but
100%. Yeah.
here's the
Yeah.
thing. Imagine a machine. Okay. If I gave you a machine and I said, Richard, here's a machine. And if you do proper maintenance on this machine, if you do what this machine needs,
Yes.
not only will this machine serve you, it will get better and it will heal itself. Think about
Amazing,
that
isn't it?
machine. Imagine if
Absolutely
you had a car
amazing.
like that. Here's a car,
Yeah.
Richard. As long as you do the basic maintenance on it and you give it what it needs, it's going to get better as a car
Yes.
and it'll heal itself.
Yes. I,
Wouldn't you
s-
love
I, s-
that?
I
And you've
do. I
got
just
it.
love I love the idea. And it probably leads me into, we're talking age now in terms of the misconceptions about age. And you know where
Yeah.
I'm coming from there, because there's a lot of this initial thought process. You retire at 65, you then do this, you do that, you don't, and all the sedentary folk, you tend to see them in apartments. They don't ever leave. They just go to the shopping mall. They come back home, they read the paper, those sort of things. And I think you could probably help me there with,
Yeah.
there's this sort of perception that, I don't know if it's the industrial age, has given us that thought process. This is what you do. And I think that's totally wrong.
I think we see ourselves aging and we think this is normal. This is what everybody else around me is doing. It's
Yes.
the same reasons why obesity is a problem is, one, there's abundance of food, but two, everyone around us is bigger. So we don't look bigger. If everyone around us is weaker, we don't feel weaker. It's like
Yes.
I'm not, I mean, I know I'm not what I could be, but I'm not like
Yep.
that guy.
Yep.
Kind of thing.
Yep.
And it's terrible, but that's, I think there's a part of it. But I'm gonna tell you a story. Okay. So there's this guy, Glenn,
Yep.
and Glenn was a salesman and he played golf every day. He loved golf. I'm like, he lived golf. He lived on a golf course. He was a salesman, and that's how they used to make the deals. They'd play
Yep.
around the golf and then they'd sign the sales contract receipt. That
Well,
was the deal. And wherever, yeah, but they were stealing a deal, because they spent 3 or 4 hours together, hitting golf balls,
yep.
talking, and basically that's how you did. But he loved golf, and so he played golf. He retired about the age most people would retire, late 60s, and then he went on, he played, but when he got around the age of 80, he had to stop playing. Okay, now this was the thing that defined
Yes.
his life was now gone. The love of his life.
Yes.
He loved golf more than people, and now it was gone.
Yep.
Okay. Now,
Yep.
in Glenn's mind, that was normal. People retire from golf. They hang up their cleats or, and the
Yes.
clubs, put their clubs away. And that's just what you do. But the thing was, Glenn lived till he was 95, which means the
Right.
last 15 years of his life, he didn't get to do the thing he loved the most.
Yes.
Okay. Now you flash forward and he's 90. So 10
Yes.
years later, and now he's living in one of those apartments you talked about. And so
Yes.
it's a single story thing.
Yeah.
There's little opportunities for him to trip himself so he won't hurt himself. And there's a call box. I mean, there's a person in a room, not far away. If something were to happen, he could get help, and they'd check on him every once in a while. And what he found was that if he was sitting there watching a television program in his chair and he realized he had to go to the bathroom, he wasn't going to make it.
Wow.
Okay, couldn't get up from the chair, move across the
Yeah.
room to the bathroom and get that all situated before he had to go,
Yeah.
and therefore he had to call them to clean him up because he couldn't do that either. Now,
So sad.
it is, and because he was in that situation, he
Yeah.
didn't want people around to witness that. He was so embarrassed, and so
Wow.
he wouldn't let his family come visit the last
Oh,
5 years of his life,
gee.
and that's why I didn't get to see my grandfather the last 5 years of his
Oh,
life.
my goodness.
So
My goodness.
and
Wow.
what I know as a trainer is that had he done a little bit of work, and people call it workouts and people call it exercise, and ew, it's horrible. But
Yes.
if you thought about it, it's training to be able to keep playing golf,
Yes.
and it's training to be able to wipe my own butt when I'm 105.
Yeah.
And that's what it
Yeah.
is. And so don't think of it as a workout. Don't think of it as exercise. Begin to think of it as I'm effectively an athlete. Making it from my chair to
Yes.
if making it from my chair to the bathroom is my athletic event, I'm
Yeah.
gonna train for that.
Yes.
Okay. If
Yeah.
opening my own jar of pickles is my athletic event, then I'm gonna train for
That's
that.
what I mean, you put it so nicely. It's a great story that because I've seen a couple of your podcasts anyway, and you tend to talk about independence, and that's exactly it, isn't it?
Yeah,
Maintaining your independence as long as you can.
because if you can't open that pickle jar, you don't get any
Yeah.
pickles.
Yeah. Yeah.
You gotta call
Incredible.
someone else to open your
Yes.
pickle jar, or you gotta get one of those fancy little, wrench tools, and even after a while, you don't have the grip strength to use that. But, so we
Yeah.
use these crutches as we get older rather than build the skills and the
Yes.
strength to do what we wanna do. And so I think that, there are
Yeah.
creature comforts and there are things we should lean into that
Yeah.
help make life better.
Yeah.
The cell phone has made life better. You're
Yeah.
safer with your cell phone on you than you've ever been. If you were to fall in your apartment, you now
Yes.
have a cell phone versus the we used to attach phones to the wall back in the kitchen with the
Yes.
long cord. But if
That's
you fell
right.
on the floor, you can't reach up there and grab that. Maybe you can
That's
grab the cord and strap it down, but now you got the cell phone on your person, you can call for help very easily with really just one push of a button.
yes. Yes.
And so there's a lot of things that have happened in the last 30 years that have made our lives so much better, but there's also a lot of things in the last 30 years that have really hurt us.
Yes. Alan, in terms of that, how much of it is mental?
Well, the doing is mental.
It
All of
is,
the
isn't it? And
doing is
yes.
mental because, here's the funny thing. If you decided you wanted to do something today,
Yes.
okay, you said, okay, starting on Monday, we're recording this on Friday. So of course we're not going to start on a Friday. Come on. We're going to start on Monday. But we're going to
Yes.
start on Monday. Okay. Well, what we're hoping is when the alarm goes off at 6 o'clock in the morning and we're retired, so
Yeah.
we haven't had to use an alarm in months or years. And now the alarm clock's going to go off at 6 so I can go for
Yes.
that walk while it's still cool outside. And that's what you're thinking. And then the alarm clock goes off at 6 o'clock in the morning. Are you going
Yeah.
to have the motivation to get up or are you going to turn it off?
Yes.
And so we think of motivation as like this magical force that's either there or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. But that's not how
Yeah.
motivation actually works. Motivation is it's something you get from doing something. It's a reward. And it sounds a little backwards, but let me explain what I mean
Yeah.
is motivation has two types. Okay. There's extrinsic, which is outside of us, comes from
Yeah.
other people. And there's
Mm-hmm.
intrinsic that comes from inside of us. Okay. That's
Yep.
ours. Okay. So the extrinsic is the easy part. That's the accountability. So if I have a coach, now I have a leader in my life that's directing me to do things and I'm going to do them. Just like your wife tells you to do something, you do it because you got leader
Sometimes.
accountability most of the time.
Not always.
I'm still
No,
young enough. I gotta keep her happy. So I do it all the time. But at
but
any
I get
rate,
your point though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But point someone
Yeah.
in a leader, someone we respect,
Yep.
someone that's above us that is holding. So your boss, your wife, your coach, they're
Yes.
holding you
Yes.
accountable.
Yeah.
Okay. If the doctor told you I want you to take this pill every day and your wife is sitting there in the morning with your coffee and your pill, you're going to
Yes.
take the pill.
Yep.
Okay. And that's accountability. Okay. And that's very powerful because it's easy and it's kind of powerful in the moment. But if something happened, like, okay, your wife goes to visit her sister and then she's not there. Haha, I'm not
Yeah.
taking the pill. I forgot to take the pill. I didn't want
Yep.
to take the pill.
Yep.
Whatever. But you see
Yeah.
how accountability is kind of fleeting. Now, the other level is a social level, and this is your friends, your peers. Now, we've
Yes.
always thought of peer pressure as a bad thing, right? Oh, that's why people do bad things, is because peer pressure. But if you have the right peers, peer pressure is beautiful. It's wonderful. So if you surround yourself with people who are doing the thing you want to do, then you feel better and you do it more. So if you took a class at the YMCA or at the gym, maybe it's an
Mm.
aqua aerobics class or a class, you know your friends are going to be at the class. So you
Yes.
show up for them. If you had a workout partner or a walking
Yeah.
partner, you show up for them. That's
Yeah.
social accountability. So accountability is very easy. You hire the coach, you join the group, you
Mm.
invite a friend to do something. Very easy to get, but it could fleet. I mean, I had one client, it's funny. She told me she's going to walk 3 days a week for 30 minutes with her sister.
Okay.
And so I noticed on Monday she didn't log her walk, and then I noticed again on Wednesday. I'm like, she didn't log her walk. So I
Okay.
reached out to her. I said, okay. I said, I don't want to bug you, but you've missed 2 walks in a row. What's going on? And she said, well, my sister turned her ankle, so I couldn't walk
Okay. Yes.
because
Yes.
accountability was gone. Like I said,
Yep.
wife goes on vacation, and now you
Yeah.
don't have that accountability. You're not going to hire a coach for the rest of your life. So you got to build some
Yes.
self-efficacy, and that's where we shift
Yes.
over to the other side. And so self-efficacy is the intrinsic part. This
Yep.
is where we begin to hold ourselves accountable. And so one
Yes.
of the things, the way we do that is with the leader level is self-management. Now, if you've ever worked in business or worked as a manager, what you
Yeah.
know is your life is full of this bad thing happened. How do we fix it? How do we keep it from happening again?
Yes.
Okay. So if you look at fitness and health the same way, it's like, oh, I slipped up on my eating. Why did it happen? What can I do from keeping it happen again? And so it's like you want
Yeah.
to add friction to the things you don't want to do. So if I know those hostess cakes are in the pantry, I'm much more likely to eat them than if they were not.
Yes.
If I remove the hostess pant thing, I said to my wife, hey,
Yep.
could you put these
Just
somewhere else
to
so
just
I
get rid
don't
of
see
them. Yep.
right, or just get rid of them. But if she doesn't wanna get rid of them, it's like, can you go hide them somewhere so I just don't see them? Okay, because out of sight, out of mind, I'm not going to drive to the store to get a snack,
Yes. Yes.
So I make it
Yes.
harder to do the things I don't wanna do, but easier to do the things I do wanna do. So if I know I wanna get up and go for a run or a walk in the morning, I
Yep.
have my stuff out the night before.
Yep.
I go to bed
Yes.
half an hour, 15 minutes early, so it's easy enough for me to get up and go do the thing I wanna do. Those are
Yep.
those are strategies and tactics that make it easier. One of the mistakes a lot of people do is they jump straight to the strategies and tactics, and they don't do the accountability bit. So
Yes.
they don't stick to it. Yeah, sure, it's easy. I
Yep.
packed my bag the first night, but then I wasn't motivated. I didn't pack it the second time or the third
Yes.
time, and then I didn't do what I
Yes.
was doing, and
And
it
just
falls
lose
apart.
interest.
Right. So we want the accountability to hold the place until we start to build these systems and processes. And then what happens is down in the social level within
Yeah.
us is where we start building the habits and values. So now I've done it enough, it starts to become a habit. So it's just what
Mm.
I do. And then when you do that, now you begin to identify as a different person. Now, the easiest example I've ever
Yeah.
thought of is this. You start walking with a friend,
Yep.
maybe, and you're going for these daily walks. And then one day you decide, hey, let's jog to that fence post.
Huh?
Okay. So you take your little walk, your normal walk, and now you're doing a little bit more of a jog. And then you start
Yes.
adding these little jogs, these challenge each other. It's like, okay,
Yes.
let's go
Yes.
that fence post. Okay, catch your breath. Oh, well, good. Okay, let's do that stop sign. And then you're doing these things so that you're pushing yourself a little bit. Each of you are
Yeah.
pushing each other.
Yeah.
And so now your walks are that. And then you hear about this 5K race in town that's coming up the next,
Yep.
couple weekends away. Hey, we could do that. Let's do that together, Richard. Okay. And you're like, sure, let's do that. And so
Yes.
now we sign up for the race. We do the race. And if you've ever done one of these, there's all the people. It's exciting.
Yes.
It's
Yeah,
fun.
yeah,
We've got
yep,
the
yep,
shirt, get the
yeah,
medal, maybe drink a beer.
yes,
And then,
yes. It's these park
and,
runs, they call them now.
right, right. And now we're
Yeah.
hooked. And now we're hooked.
Yes,
So now we're signing up for the next one and we're buying better
yes,
shoes. And when we
yes,
go out for our walks, they're becoming more jogs and runs.
yeah,
And so what ends up
yeah,
happening now is it's now become a habit for us to meet up every day to do this walk or run or however often. And we begin to identify as a runner.
yes.
And what do runners do? They run.
They run, yeah,
So if your
often,
alarm
every
goes off,
morning.
right. So your alarm
Yep,
goes off at 6 o'clock in the
yes,
morning. You just what do you wake up, you lace up your shoes, you brush your
yes,
teeth, you put on your t-shirt, your
yeah.
shorts, and boop.
Off
And
you
maybe,
go.
maybe you got to put on a sweater or some kind of sweatshirt or
Yeah,
some kind of
yeah,
jacket, but you just go because that's who
yes,
you are. You identify as that person. And so what we
yes,
want to try to do for health and fitness is not become the runner the
yes,
first day. We want to surround ourselves, get a coach and surround
yeah,
ourselves with people that want to move more,
yes,
and we start moving more regularly and we make it easier and easier to do that and harder to not do it. And so then over time, that's our values. I've got my Tuesday run club. I'm walking, running with you on the weekends. We're doing these
yeah,
things. And suddenly we just
yeah,
identify as a different person. It's the same thing if you decide you were going to go to the gym.
yeah,
You get a workout partner, you go to the gym, maybe you hire a coach. Now you're in the gym a couple of days of the week, you start feeling a little stronger. You're like, okay, if I have my gym bag packed when I go to
mm,
work, it's easier for me
mm,
to get my workout done. I'm not going and doing my workouts in the evening because I'm already kind of too tired from work. I'm
yeah,
really not a morning person that wants to set their alarm an hour earlier. So I'm going to do my workout during my lunch hour, but I
okay,
have to have my bag packed and with me at my job site if I'm going to do that.
yeah,
So I have to pack my bag the night before. And
yes,
if I do that, then I know my bag's packed, it's in my car, I have no excuses,
yeah,
and I do the
yeah,
workout. And then when I
yeah,
keep doing that workout, now it becomes a habit. Every afternoon, I have a workout that I'm doing at the gym, and that's who I am, and that's who I identify as, and that's my day to day. And the thought of not doing it doesn't even
yeah,
occur to me. So what is that? That just became like the super reinforced permanent motivation,
yes,
always
yes,
on. Okay.
yes,
And you earned that through action. It
yeah,
didn't just magically show up one day
yes,
and
yes.
disappear the next.
That's so interesting, Alan, because a little bit of quick background. I'm a runner of 50 odd years, 55 years. I've done half marathons and marathons around the world. And my best one was running the London half marathon. And I've done that several times. I just loved it. Absolutely loved it. So I'm generally one of those that does pack the bag, get the shoes ready. It
Yeah.
has everything ready for the morning. And I'm up at 5 o'clock, 4:45 with the birds. And I'm out there. But unfortunately, recently, because of my age, I've got meniscus tears in my knees now, and I've got issues, and my knees have started to give me too much trouble. So I've been to a surgeon, and the surgeon said to me, "Look, I don't want to do anything on you. I don't want to open you up. What I suggest you do is stop running, but take up another cardio exercise." And so I've got an indoor cycle now. And so
Okay.
I get up in the morning and I hit the indoor cycle, and it's far better for my knees and everything. And I'm going on something new. But I really identified with what you said about your golfing friend in terms of
Yeah.
getting to 85 and then having no more golf. When I got to that stage only recently, and this is a part of why I'm thinking about all of this sort of stuff. Only recently, I had the meniscus tears, etc., and I've just had to stop running. And it's taken me probably a year to 18 months to get over the fact I'm not going to run again.
Well,
Mentally, it's
I'm
hard
not gonna
going.
I wouldn't necessarily say you're not gonna run again. I would say that, okay, that's what a doctor's gonna tell you, okay?
Yeah,
I'm not a doctor, so don't take this as medical advice, but what I do know
it's
is that a lot of doctors have told my clients, "Don't squat." And then I'll sit there and ask my client, I'm like, "Well, do you go to the bathroom on the toilet?" And particularly if it's a female, they're like, "Yes." I said, "Okay, well, you
you're
squat."
squatting. Yeah,
So do you
absolutely.
just stand there and let it happen? No, you don't. You
Yeah.
squat. Okay, so I think there might be safer ways for you to run. When you said London Marathon, I'm thinking, "Oh, there's a lot of concrete
Yeah,
and a lot of pounding."
asphalt.
Okay,
Yep.
but maybe running without as much pounding, running on softer surfaces would be ways after your knees have healed, because obviously a tear needs to
Oh, it
mend
takes a
where it can.
long time.
Yeah, but if you're moving your legs, which you are on the bicycle, and you're
Yes.
getting blood flow to those body parts, again, the
Yes.
human body is great at
It's
healing
amazing.
itself, and you're moving, you're doing the right things, but the point being is at some point, you have to say, "Okay, could I run on a softer surface?" And it might be
Yes.
something as soft as saying, "I'm gonna run in the pool."
Yeah.
Because there's actually, like, fins that you can get where you
Yeah.
can run against run against if there's a slow river, some gyms will have a slow river, but, there's opportunities, maybe you get in the pool and you just run in the
Yes.
pool with those, they're kind of reverse flippers, they like, they make it
Yes.
harder,
Yes. Yes. To,
you
to,
know
to force against the water.
Right, like,
Yes.
divorces exactly. So I would never say that you're not gonna run again, I just say
Never
you
ever.
may have to run different and may have to
Yeah.
change the sport because marathons can beat you up, but shorter runs and less runs on hard surfaces might be something that you could eventually build up to.
Get back into again.
Yeah.
It's such an interesting question, and we get back to the age, my age, and the age profile I'm talking about. And so many of my friends or older colleagues, they look at me and go, "Are you still running? Why?" They're almost it's almost this question mark, and I sort of look back at them and go, "Well, why not?" And it's
Well,
all about staying healthy.
yeah, here's why you're running,
Yes,
okay? Here's what you tell them. There's a study out, and I'll try to find the link for you and send it after we're done with this, but there's a study out, and they looked at people from back in 1990, and
yes,
they looked at people from 2023. So this is just one generation, okay? And they looked in 1990 and they basically said, okay, the lifespan of a person was a certain number and how many years we were basically healthy and then now starting to get sick. And so they say the gap between those two, so health span and lifespan at
yes,
that time was about 8.8 years on average, which means most of us were spending the last 9 years of our lives sick,
yes. Yeah,
okay?
it's
That's
incredible.
that's a pretty large percentage, and then but they looked at it in 2023, and that number had jumped to 12,
Absolutely amazing.
and so we're effectively spending
Yes.
15% of our lives sick.
Yeah.
That's what we're running from.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what you and
It's
I
it
are fighting against. I'm lifting and
it's
and
a
and running against, you're running against. That's what we're fighting
yes.
against, is
Yes.
we want our health span to be closer to our lifespan. We want to close
Yes.
that gap,
Yeah.
and so we live not just a longer life, but a better life.
Yes. 100%. Alan, I also notice at this age group that I'm in now that there's a lot of withdrawal happening. And, you're talking very positively about, your exercise regime, get into a habit, all those sorts of things. But I notice people, even if I talk to them about, well, what are you doing? What are you doing tomorrow? What exercise? That sort of thing. Their withdrawal almost becomes permanent. And I don't know if you've got any suggestions for those out there as to how do you start? Come on,
Well,
get off the couch, do something because it's
the
so important for them.
it's a lot of it's words, and that's why I said this is
Yes,
so much of this is mental, it's just those words. Exercise,
yes,
work out. I retired. I don't, I don't wanna work out. I don't wanna work anymore. I don't even want the word work in my life, you know? I'm not
yes,
gonna work
yes,
out. Okay, I had a client, it was so funny. She was actually my very first online client, and the first thing she told me was, "I don't like exercise."
yes,
I
yes. That
don't
big
like
one.
working out. And I'm
Yep.
like, "Okay." She was only 53. And so I said, "Okay, well, let's" she wanted to lose weight. And I said, "Okay, well, that's our core focus. We will focus on the weight loss." But I said, "Is there anything else about your world that you don't like?" And she said, "Well, I get winded walking to my car that's in the car."
Goodness man.
Okay. And I said, "Okay." I said, "How about tomorrow when you get to your car, you do one lap around your car before you can get in it?" Okay. And she's like, "Okay." And so she did that. I said, "How was it?" She said, it was hard, but I did it." I said, "Okay, do it again tomorrow." And so by the third day, I asked her, she says, "It's actually getting a little easier." And I said, "Okay, two
Yes,
laps." Okay. So within about a few weeks, she was able to go for a nice, good 10-minute, 15-minute walk.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And it helped with her weight loss. She managed
Yeah.
to lose about 9 pounds over the course of the time I was working with her. So if you think of it as workouts, then no, you're not going to do it.
Yeah.
But if you realize that it's changing something about yourself that will make you like your life better,
Yes.
then maybe you'll do it. And it's not that I tricked her. I said, do a lap
Yes.
around your car.
Yeah.
She knew what she was doing.
Yes.
But I wasn't telling her, "I want you to go for a 10-minute walk or a 15-minute walk." I just said just something as simple as that little nudge, that little thing,
Yeah.
because what we have to look at, regardless of where we are in our lives and where we are in our fitness, is we if we try to make drastic change, it will not
Yeah.
stick, and more than likely, it will hurt us.
Yes.
What we have to do is we have to just do a gentle nudge
Yes.
slightly outside our comfort zone. Because here's the thing, nothing great
Yes.
in your life ever happened in your comfort zone,
Agreed.
okay? The doctor will tell you, "Don't do this, don't do that, don't do this," because it hurts, and if you keep doing the thing not doing things because they hurt, then you will stop doing everything.
Yes.
Okay, so sometimes we have to do things that are uncomfortable, but I don't want you to do things that are super uncomfortable. I want you to do things that are mildly uncomfortable,
Yeah.
just slightly outside your comfort zone. And if you do that consistently, your comfort zone expands. And then you can do just a
Yes.
little outside of that comfort zone. So,
Yeah.
one of the beautiful things about the human body, it doesn't matter how old you are, if you
Yes.
have another breath in you, you can do something to improve your situation.
So interesting because there's a lot of people I know who have never exercised and dislike sports, for example. And so therefore for them to start doing something that they would recognize as an exercise or to maintain whatever it is, some sort of fitness, it's almost against their core belief. And this is what I see in some of these people. And that's why one of my questions earlier on to you was, how much of it is mental, changing that belief system and
Well,
for
almost
for
all of it,
longevity.
almost all of it, but
Yeah.
you think about this, okay, so I don't know, but I like
Interesting.
pickles. I actually really like pickles. I don't know about you, but I just
Yeah.
kinda one of my favorite
I'll
foods.
I'll take him on a good day.
Okay. It's one of my favorite foods, but, it comes in a jar, and when you initially get that jar, it's sealed. It's got a vacuum seal, which makes the
Yes.
top a little bit more difficult to open,
Yeah.
and so for a lot of people, when they start losing the grip strength, when they get older, they're unable to open one of those jars.
Yes.
Okay. So if you're finding yourself starting to get into that type of situation, we just want to start working on our grip strength. Okay. A simple way to work on grip strength is to just take a bath towel, put something in the bath towel of some weight. So it could be a couple bars of soap, you could do a jar, but just don't drop it.
Yeah.
And then what you wanna do is crumple up the ends, so it's in the middle, you crumple up the ends and you grab that with your hand, and then you just try to lift it off the ground with just now you're just having to grip the towel to keep that in your hand as you lift it, you're strengthening your grip.
Understand.
You do that a little bit and
Yes.
then you're done. Let yourself recover, do it again the next day. Add a little bit more, a couple more bars of soap or just a little bit more
Yes.
in there, just so again, you got a little bit more weight, a little bit more girth, and then eventually you will build grip strength and you will find that it's easier for you to open that jar. It's easier for you to turn doorknobs. It's easier for you to do things that you may have been struggling to do before. So don't go down the line of just saying, well, I need a tool. They need to put some bars here. I need a tool to open the jar. I need, this and that. I need a walker. Those tools are valuable to keep you somewhat mobile, but as you become more and more dependent on them, you're moving
Yeah.
away from capacity and into incapacity, which is where you begin to completely lose independence because there's a time when you can't open anything, you can't open a door, you can't
Yeah.
use that walker because you let yourself get to a point where not doing a little bit of something. So, what you and I are running
Right.
from, you and I are
If
lifting from is to close that gap between our lifespan and our health span so
yes.
we can live the lives that we were meant to live.
Absolutely. In terms of, you talk about grip strength, and I'm almost in the space where I want to convince my friends and colleagues to do a little bit more than that. So the question I have for you is, would you suggest aerobic or anaerobic, or would you suggest you do both? So, for example, do some small weights or go for long walks. Really pant and really get the blood flowing.
Well, the true answer is both. I think you know that that's
Okay,
the true answer.
right.
I think everyone
Yeah,
knows that that's the true answer. But let's break it down a little bit more, okay?
yeah,
My grandfather, Glenn, loved playing golf. Okay, so what did golf require? Well, the balance problem he had swinging the clubs was a strength problem in his legs.
yeah.
The ability to get up from his chair and go to the bathroom was a strength problem in his legs.
Okay.
Okay. Obviously, if he's going to be playing golf, he's going to be in a cart. He's getting out of the cart, walking to the ball, walking. He's got to have some stamina as well.
Yes.
So there's a little bit of both. So
Yes.
the real question is, what are the things that you love that you
Yes.
want to keep doing, and what skills
Mm,
do you need to have to be able to do those things?
mm,
Like I said, I want to be able to
mm,
wipe my own butt when I'm 105, which
mm.
means I've got to be able to stand up from a chair quickly. I've got to be able to not sprint, but walk briskly across the room.
Yep.
And then I got to do my do, which is
And you got to be able to squat
there's some
as
squatting
well.
going on, and then there's some
Yeah.
mobility of being able to twist
Yes.
around and do what I got to do, get back
Yes.
up and, put my pants back on, and then go back and watch the rest of
Yeah.
Jeopardy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, and I just mean that as a joke. I don't know if Jeopardy's still on or not, but that used to just be the old people sit around watching Jeopardy. But it's not. It was a good show. It was a good
Yeah.
show.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, no, I understand. So what I'm hearing from you, Alan, is that both are good for you, but either or is good for you, better than not doing either at all,
Yes, yes,
right?
do
You
something.
need to be doing
But
something.
but the point being is
Yes.
if it related to the thing you cared about,
Yes,
wouldn't you be more inclined to
you
do
would.
it?
Yep.
Okay. So the point being is
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
okay, I'm 60. I just turned 60. I have one grandson now that's a year old and one that's going to be born in October. Okay.
Fantastic.
Now, let's start thinking about what that means. Well, what that means is the kids are not having their babies until they're in their 30s, which is what our two
Yes.
daughters did. Which means, unlike us having our babies in our 20s, I'm going to be in my 90s before those two boys even think about getting married.
Incredible. And you
I
want to be
want to
fit
be
and
there.
strong by then.
I want to be there.
Yes.
And not only do I want to be there, I want to
Yeah.
be a part of it. I want to be on
Yeah.
my feet.
Yeah.
I hate to say this. My mother was 70, 77, 78, and my wife's mother was a little younger than that. They were not fit and healthy enough to travel to their own granddaughter's weddings.
Wow. It's sad. It's so very sad. And
It
I
is.
hear it. I
It's a
hear it a
loss.
lot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a loss. And so
absolutely.
think forward. What are the experiences in your life that you're going to want to be
Yes.
a part of?
Yes.
And then make the decision today whether you're going to be a part of it or not.
Whether
Because
you're
you
going to
are
be
making
there.
that decision one way or another.
You
You
are.
decide you're not going to do anything. You're
Yeah.
basically saying, I know I'm not going to be at my grandchild's wedding.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
know I'm not going to be there for this.
Yes. Yeah. And
Okay.
that should be motivation in itself anyway.
It is for me.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
look at it. My grandparents were only 40 years. I think they were 40 years in their 40s when I was born. But I always just knew of them as rocking chair grandparents. It's like we
Yes.
played on the floor, they sat in the rocking chair. Ah,
Yeah.
no, no, no. I may be in my
You don't want to be like
60s.
that.
I'm in my 60s, not my 40s, but I'm not gonna be
Yeah.
the rocking chair
Yeah.
grandparent. I'll be on the floor rolling around playing with those kids. When they're kicking a soccer ball, I'm kicking a soccer ball. When
Yeah.
they're running around throwing stuff and I'm doing that too,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And no, I
Yeah.
won't be there'll be a point where I know I just won't be able to keep up with them
Yeah. Yeah.
anymore, but I'm gonna be the grandparent they remember, "Okay, grandpa played with
Yeah.
us." And that's
Yes.
the memory I want those boys to have, and then when I'm at their wedding,
Yeah.
those are the memories they're gonna have of the people in their lives that they love. That's your legacy. When you think
Yes.
about what lives after you are gone, it's
Yes.
only the memory of you and what
It's the
joy you brought
memories.
to someone's life. And so
Yeah.
being there for those boys to play, to
Yeah.
grow, and then to be there for their weddings, that's fire for me. And
Yes.
if it's not fire for you, it's so okay, then
Yeah.
find your fire.
Yeah.
Just please find it because otherwise the aging curve is doing what it's
Yes.
doing and you're aging at a certain lifespan and you're aging at a certain health span.
Yep.
And that gap is what you have to look forward to, particularly now if you're in your 70s,
Yes.
you're entering that gap,
Yes.
but you still have time to close it.
Yeah, so interesting. Just so the flip side of that now, Alan, in terms of for the couch potatoes out there, and I know too many of them, what's that doing to your body? You're 70 years old now and you're not doing anything, total inactivity. What's the impact of that?
Okay. Well, man or woman, you are dealing with two things. Okay. Number one is sarcopenia, which is muscle going away.
Just,
Basically, you're
yep.
losing muscle and you're also losing bone density. We both do. Men and women lose it. Up until about age 65, we were losing from 35 to 65, it's about 1% a year if you don't do anything. And then from 65 on, it accelerates. So if you're over
Mm,
70, you're potentially losing 3 to 5% of your muscle mass per year. Okay.
incredible.
And no, well, one of the things that you've got a lot less muscle mass than you probably had in your 30s, which
Yes.
you because you've had
Yes.
the sarcopenia and going around for a while. Now, for women, because they start out with less bone density, osteopenia over time, by the time you're in your 70s, a lot of times that's when we start seeing the osteoporosis. And that's where your bone
Mm,
is just broken down to a point where it's really not capable of supporting much weight.
mm,
Okay. And
mm.
that's when a fall will kill you.
Yep.
I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
that's the math. That's
Yeah.
what's happening.
Yeah.
30, one third of everyone over the age of 65 falls every year, which means on average, you're going to fall once every 3 years for sure.
Yeah.
And if you're
Incredible.
falling and you don't have the muscle mass and the physical capacity to catch yourself, you're going to break.
Yes.
And if you break a
Yeah.
hip and you go to the hospital, a large percentage of those people don't come home.
It's incredible, isn't it? And you hear it all the time, but people tend to sort of ignore it. They almost sort of say to themselves, "It won't happen to me."
And that's why you need some form of resistance training. You need some kind of, some pressure on your bones so that
Yes.
there's a reason for the osteoclast, which are what builds there's osteoclast and osteoblast. And so you want your bone to build density, which it will. If you're putting stress on your bones, the right kind of stress, and then giving them time to recover, just like muscles, they can get better. Well, it's a wonderful gift. The human body gets
Yes.
better if you do what you're supposed to do. So we can reverse all this, or at least slow it down significantly. And so it just takes a little bit. And that's what I say. It's not like I'm not asking you to go do an Olympic lifting class tomorrow. What I'm
Yeah.
saying is it can be something as simple as just saying, I'm going to do 10 body weight squats,
Yeah.
sometime in the day, even if I have to do them one at a time.
Yeah.
And
And that's where you
I'll
start. It's just starting, isn't it?
Yes.
Getting into it.
Yes. And so it could be as simple as saying, okay,
Mm.
so when I go to the bathroom, I'm going to sit down, go to the bathroom, clean up, stand up, sit down again, and stand up again. I
Yes.
just added one squat to that day. If
Yes.
I do that every time I go to the bathroom,
Yeah.
then I'm probably doing it several times
Yeah.
during the day, a few times during the day. I'm adding squats. And
Yeah.
then as my fitness level goes up, I can do them as sets. I can do more.
Yes.
And so you can build this into your everyday thing and not think of it as I got to do a whole hour doing a training thing or whatever. You can just be okay, a little bit here, a little bit there,
Yeah.
and then as you get more fit, you just want to make sure you're progressing that a little bit further. Maybe at some point you hold something to your chest that has a little bit of weight to it. So now this is basically called a goblet squat, but it's a way
Yeah.
to add resistance to your body weight because you don't necessarily want to put on body weight and you don't want to
Yes.
buy a vest or anything, but you can just literally just hold something close to your chest with your elbows
Yep.
tucked in.
Yep.
And it's
Yep.
easy enough for you to do some squats like that. And
Yes.
just add a little bit of resistance and
Yes.
you'll feel stronger. You'll get
And
stronger. Your body will adapt and you will feel
yes.
better.
Yes.
Same thing with stamina. It's just go for a short distance, short amount of time, slow pace. Try to increase the pace, try to
Yeah.
increase the time slowly, little increments. Like start at 5 minutes if it's 5 minutes, add
Yeah.
1 minute. I know that kind of sounds maybe a little ridiculous, but
Yes.
if you add a minute and you go
Yeah.
6 minutes next week and then 7 minutes the next week, and
Yeah.
now it'll
Agreed.
be 9 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you're going to find before long, you're able to go 30, 40 minutes at a clip
Yes.
and you don't even know how you got there. And
Yes.
suddenly you're like,
Yes.
I've got more energy because I'm expending this energy. My body is recovering. It's getting stronger. It's getting better. And you're
Yeah.
closing that gap.
Yeah, I know, fantastic. And I'm looking at the clock. And I've only probably asked you 3 out of the 15 questions I have for you. So I mean, there's just so much on my mind, and I'm starting to get to grips with all of this sort of stuff. And it's a fascinating subject for me. And the reason why it's fascinating, Alan, is because I'm in that date range, in that
Yeah.
age range now, and I'm concerned about it. I look around and I get concerned. And then I look at myself and I think, well, can you continue to do what you're doing? Those sorts of things. So it's a fascinating topic for me at the moment. And I want to continue to learn about it. But just to close, how can my audience, the older people out there listening or watching, learn more about your work? Is there some way they can get in touch
Yeah.
that they can learn
Well, if
about
you're
what you do?
listening to this podcast, you obviously like podcasts, and so you know how to find a podcast. The same player you're on right now, you
Yeah.
just open that up, do their search, you type in 40 plus fitness, or you type my name, Allan Misner, and you'll find me right there on the podcast. That's probably the best answer. Find me there.
Fantastic.
Tons of episodes for you to catch up on and learn more about me. I also have my website, 40plusfitness.com. So
Yes.
there's things if you want to get in touch with me, that's the easiest way to do it is on that site. But really just listen to podcasts and
Yeah.
start making some changes.
Yeah, oh, fantastic. Look, Alan, it's been a delight meeting you. I really do appreciate it. And thank you so much for the feedback and the talk and so on. I hope we all meet again. We'll
We
have
will.
another chat
We will.
again
It's a
in a
small
not too
world.
distant future. Let
Absolutely.
me know. Stay in touch. I'll drop you a note. But look, thank you so much. Really
Thank
do
you.
appreciate it.
I appreciate the opportunity to be here and connect.